Hello, everybody. Welcome to our panel on building a solid business relationship with design professionals. My name is Paige Ferrante, and I'm on the marketing team at Houzz. Today, I'm joined by a group of experts who are here to share their expertise and best practices on how home builders can work with home technology integrators and manufacturers on how to best work together. So I'm going to have you guys start by introducing yourself and giving us a little background on your expertise.
Hi everyone, my name is Shane Durkin. I'm a builder with Flag Coastal Homes here in San Diego, based right across the bay in Coronado. We are a design build firm. We specialize in high-end coastal inspired construction. We're working on our 50th home right now. We build from Coronado all the way up to Encinitas. And we're in the premium luxury category, I would say, building upwards of $600–700 a square foot. So have a lot of integrated tech and home automation in our builds.
Hi, my name is Tim Senava with Barco Residential. So we're a manufacturer of very high-end imaging technology, projectors, video walls, and things like that, looking at applications like high-end home theater, new media art, and that type of thing.
I'm Amir Saluk, VP of Marketing and Sales at Vitrea Smart Home Technologies. We're a lighting control manufacturer. We're based off of Israel. We make very elegant keypads, glass capacitive touch, glass panels, wireless systems, centralized systems for a variety of projects like residential projects, hospitality projects, commercial projects.
Great. So my first question is for you, Tim and Amir. I wanted to just get your thoughts on how you think the right technology selection can broaden design possibilities.
So,
yeah.
Sorry. Well, I like to think of technology as a design material. How do we turn it into a design material? Like if you look at us as a company at first sight, for example, you could say, hey, we manufacture great projectors, we manufacture great video walls, and that's what we do. But the way I like to look at it is, actually, especially when we talk to a design professional, is I like to look at it as a digital canvas. Never mind the technology. We want to give you the ability to create a digital canvas, something that you can integrate into your design and that you can use to create a variety of experiences, which home theater could be one of them, but by no means limited to home theater. So looking at things like new media art and then giving you possibilities how you integrate that into your design. So I guess my mission is I want to take video and audio and turn it from a necessary evil almost for designers and architects into a design material, which becomes something that enables them to create new designs and do it in a way that enhances and complements their designs.
Great. And Amir, do you have anything to add to that?
As a lighting control manufacturer, it's important for us to create a variety of products that together they give the homeowner the right lifestyle that he's looking for. So when we reach out to a project, usually it could be a home of a bachelor or a young couple or an older couple or a family with many children, and each home and each project has its own needs and its own variables. And for us as a manufacturer, we have the mission to create the right products that with the right technology, you can fit to any kind of home with any kind of need, and have our installers and integrators create the right set of products and program the right set of scenes so the house is fully custom to the client's needs.
Great. And Shane, this question's for you. So you have extensive experience working with home tech integrators on the high-end projects you work on. So how did you find a technology resource and develop that relationship?
To be perfectly honest, a lot of times our best resources have come to us. We've been fortunate enough to work with some pretty incredible, talented professionals, and I think the theme across the board is that they've actually discovered us and taken the time to educate us on what they know best. Because we talked on our phone call yesterday, as a home builder, home tech and home automation is completely different than most other phases or elements that go into a home, and we are by no means the subject matter experts. So over the years, as different integrators have come to us and we've been able to work with them, walk some of their other jobs to see what they're able to do, we've really relied on those professionals that we've found to be experts in their field and let them kind of guide the design and decisions that are made.
Okay. And to follow up on that, what can someone in the field do to stand out to you and kind of be thought of from the beginning of a process as opposed to an afterthought?
Sure. So just before this, I was talking with Tim, and we were discussing this topic in particular. And one of the things that I love is when someone takes the time to approach me, not for a specific project or even a specific client, but says, hey, here's who I am, here's what I do. I'd love to sit down and chat with you about, why I'm the best at what I do, or why you should think about doing something differently. Let's maybe sit down and grab a lunch, or I can come visit you in your office. But those kind of off-the-cuff learning scenarios really, I guess, are compelling to me. And I think that most good design builders are genuinely passionate about what they do and are always looking to improve their product. But it's so hard to escape, the drag of everyday work and life, and to find those learning opportunities. So I think if a good integrator or a professional in the tech industry was to be more outgoing, I guess, that would really stand out to me.
Yeah, and something else we discussed was maybe approaching your local home builder association or other professional associations and kind of educating their members and their user bases as well. So this next question's for everyone. What's the main challenge you've had working with either tech integrators or interior designers or builders?
When I think about it, especially in this context, I don't like the word integrator, because to me that's part of the how. It's not part of the what. And if I called on a famous design firm, let's say, and I say, hey, I'd love to come talk to you about some of our cool technologies and how we make them work together, I might get an appointment in 2027 or something like that. But having looked at things like how do we integrate new media art in the design, and obviously there's a technology element in that, but I found that it actually turns around. Architects and designers will contact us and say, come talk to us about new media art, because that's the thing that really matters, that's the experience. Now, which technologies we end up using and how we end up using them, that should be in function of what they are trying to achieve. And I found that when you have the conversation in that way, the conversation changes completely. And I've had some experiences talking with architects and designers where literally I went in a conversation of 20 minutes from I really have no idea what you do to this is so amazing, can we design some of these things? And so almost going all the way to the other side where the sky is the limit. And especially with what we do and like the level of work that you do, we can do that. We can create amazing experiences. And so when I look at the integrator, and I think that goes back to what Sean is saying as well, I like to think of the integrator almost as the curator of the experience, that comes in, that can work with you, that can work with the homeowner and talk about what kind of experiences would we like to have. And then whatever technology ends up being used to create that digital canvas, that should just be part of the normal skill set of an integrator. I think the added value comes from that curation of the experience, and that's when you can create a situation where you go, hey, let's spend an afternoon with your designers and let's brainstorm about all the interesting things that we can do. Like I said, new media art, is it virtual wallpaper, whatever it might be. And I found that conversation just opens everything up.
Great. And Amir, do you have any thoughts on that, or what challenges you've experienced?
Yeah, I completely agree. The integrators and the dealers, they're actually the executors. They're the ones that are supposed to know how to take the right products from the right manufacturers, and from the other side, look at the electrical plans and the lighting plans of the designer or the architect, and meet the client, understand what his needs are, and fit the right products and the right materials for the right project and make it all work together. So it's very important to, to build from the first point of planning the right expectations and to explain the variety of different products that are there in the market, and to choose what's specifically right for that specific project. So that at the end of the project, the integrator and the dealer, the architect and the manufacturers, and of course the client himself are all very happy with the total solution that they got.
Great. And so when it comes to initial conversations, at what point in a project should technology be discussed with the client?
I think as early as possible. I mean, if you go walk the showroom floor here, just about every single one of these technologies has some sort of impact or implication to the construction of a building. And so I've lived the scenario where we get halfway through construction. I have a client that says, oh, I want these motorized shades, or a motorized articulating wall mount of some sort, or this smart home safe. All these things that really need to be discussed in the design phase. And so to me, it's never too early, because a lot of these systems you need to accommodate in actual space.
Yeah.
And so having a good game plan is just going to make the whole process go smoother from the start. So I'm always in favor of spending more time in the design and planning up front, bring the right team together and discussing how you're going to execute to meet the client's needs and their goals, so that you just don't run into any of those hiccups along the way.
Yeah, and Tim, I know that you had mentioned how much easier it is when clients know the possibilities at the outset.
No, absolutely. I think as soon as possible means in the conception phase. Because the thing is, as an industry, we sometimes focus too much on, and you can even see that when we look at the CE Pro analysis, and we look at things like, okay, when someone has a home theater, who decides which product goes into it, right? It's in 40% of the cases, it's the integrator, in 20% of the cases, it's the homeowner. I'm thinking, I think we're missing so much potential. I don't care so much about the question, which product goes into this. I care about when does the decision get taken that, hey, we think we should have a home theater as part of our home. Or I think we should have a really nice art room, or whatever it might be. So the time that is critical is when people decide what experience they want in their home. And I think to the architecture and design community, that comes natural, because that's part of the whole conception phase. But we're not part of that, and we should be.
Yeah. And so as far as your clients are concerned, are you seeing them build their budget for technology into the overall design budget, or are they kind of keeping it separate?
So we build it into the overall budget, because a house isn't complete without it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of different for us, because we're a design builder. We have an in-house architect who's going to design the structure of the house, won't engineer it. But we rely on a lot of outside consultants for Title 24. If we have special architectural trusses, we'll get a truss designer, landscape architects, that sort of thing. And when we're putting together our submittal set of plans, when we're finalizing our design, that's when we'll bring in our low voltage sub or our integrator to meet directly with our clients and ask them directly, what are your goals? What are your needs? What would you like to see? And it ranges from landscape lighting all the way to smart integrated home safes, you name it, just about every sort of piece of tech you can imagine. So it's really hard to put together a good plan without bringing that integrator in up front. And to us, it's such a critical component of the full budget. You can't really put it off to the side. It has to be integrated. Yeah. And that's been our experience. Do
you guys see challenges with that if you guys are brought in too late to the process, that budget constraints are an issue?
Yeah, so usually when you go into the project at a late point, you can fulfill a project, you can supply the right products and make the result, whatever the client is looking for, become. But the thing is, if there's no planning, many times we'll have to use much more components to create the same experience. And these components, they're costly. So the more components you use in a project, the more expenses the client is going to have eventually. So some clients, they like having us come at the end of the project and finishing the house, finishing building, all the interiors, and then bringing us along and getting a price offer. And what happens is we have to deal with whatever infrastructure is there. And
thank you so much for joining us at CEDIA 2018 here on the second day of the expo floor. On behalf of Origin Acoustics,
we'll just take a pause.
Booth 3042, we'd like to make your day just a little bit brighter. So please, join us right now in booth 3042, and let's have a beer for you. That's right, have a beer on us. Origin Acoustics, booth 3042.
We could all go grab a beer at 3042 after this. So what do you guys think the business model should look like between an integrator and a builder designer? Like, who should take the lead with the conversation, and would you meet with the client together or separately?
I'm in favor of the integrator taking the lead on the discussion in the sort of design phase, and the builder taking the lead in the construction building phase. And the reason is because it kind of happens in multiple stages. A lot of this tech goes through the structured wiring phase, and then the finish phase comes months later. But for one, you definitely have to have the integrator lead the design conversation. I am not educated enough to speak to the technology that's out there like some of our professionals are able to. But the other thing is too is, we discussed this a little bit, we include the cost of home automation, home tech into our budgets, but as a builder, we actually don't put our contractor's fee on top of it. We leave that separate and exclusive. And part of the reason is we kind of don't want to get in the way of that relationship between the client and the integrator because they're the ones that know the systems best. And we've learned from the horror story when we've got a client where we kept him separate from our integrator who calls us and says, hey, I'm trying to open my garage door and my sprinkler system's going off, or I'm trying to turn the lights on and my ice maker just started popping out ice cubes, and I don't know how to troubleshoot that. And so just for the sake of the relationship and making sure that warranty issues and service issues are covered, we like to create that relationship from the start. And a lot of times our integrators are providing monthly support for security systems, so they're going to have a long-term relationship with the client anyways. So there's no point to us in trying to shield them from a client, and we like to put them point to point as soon as possible. We will kind of lead the conversation, and contractually we like to take ownership of it through the construction process because we're still going to be the ones that contract with them, and there's lien releases, there's a lot of other legality issues. We don't like to have them go point to point in terms of them entering into contract directly with the client, but by all means, we like to let them do what they know how to do best.
Great. And Tim and Amir, do you guys have anything to add to that, or?
Well, to us as a manufacturer, it's not like we'll be that directly involved. So to us, the integrator is extremely important. But this is where, again, I don't like the word integrator because to me, the integrator should morph from that curator of the experience, should morph into the integrator as he joins the process. Mm-hmm. So to me, this is part of the discovery phase, right? Because this is in the same way. I imagine that you go like, well, you have a certain lifestyle which affects the design of the house that you do. So the architect or the designer has that discovery process with the customer. And so this should be no different. It doesn't make sense to talk about budget, for example, if you don't know that maybe this customer is a really passionate art collector and didn't know that you have this whole, well, probably does know, but you have this whole new media art opportunity that has technological implications. But the thing is, if you're not passionate about getting that kind of experience into your home, then how you're going to implement it doesn't really matter. And at the same time, it also doesn't make sense to discuss budget if you haven't discussed value. So it's hence back to also the as early as possible. And this is, I think, where also the value comes, where again, the integrator, for lack of a better term, and I know that this is a conundrum in the industry of what we call ourselves, but I think it's really from that. You have to morph from the curator of the experience in that discovery phase into the integrator that then actually delivers that experience to the customer. And so I think all of those phases are critical, and we seem to be mostly on the back end of that, which also means that we're implementing something that was probably never even properly discovered.
Mm-hmm. Amir, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so as said, we believe that the integrators, they're the ones that understand all this different technology. If it's a security system, if it's a lighting control system, it's the AV system, all of them need to work together. And we can't expect from the designers and the architects to go to college or university and study all of that as well. They specify in the design of the house and all the interiors, but when it comes to technology, and I've been working in this field for a very long time, and I don't feel yet that I can tell you everything about the home tech that there is around there. So this field it's always innovating. It's always moving forward. There's always new stuff. There's always new technologies. If you look 10 years ago or 5 years ago and think about which home technologies we would have and what we have today, it's a lot of progress has been made. And it's from show to show, from year to year, there's more and more progress in any field. And if you bring the right integrator to the project and let him sit with the client to understand his budget, to understand his needs, and let him be in front of the client in terms of whatever the home needs from the tech point of view, then he can later on also adjust the house from time to time to his needs. and be able to give them the right service and the right support when needed. So we feel that the designers, of course, they're the front with the client, but they need to have the right specialist to help them take care of whatever has to do with the home tech.
Okay. And so my last question for you would be, what would be the one thing that you can tell either a home technology professional or a builder or designer that could improve your working relationship?
For me, it's, I would honestly say just be a good listener, actually. Because our clients, and this is particularly pertains to our business where we're in the premium category where we have clients that have very high expectations and very high demands. And we've oftentimes run into trouble working with other professionals in the tech industry and tech field where they don't want to listen and they're kind of anchored to whatever technology they think is the best, not necessarily what the homeowner wants or the client wants. And so when we bring in professionals prior to meeting with clients, we just kind of tell them, hey, here's what we do, here's the product we build, here's what we know about this client and what they've told us so far. Just listen to what they have to say and ask the right questions, and we should be good from there.
Great. Tim?
I think this is the education element that we've been talking about, right? Where it's not necessarily specifically a project. So it's things like meeting with professionals, you can call it lunch and learn, whatever you want, but it's really, I found that as we've talked and engaged with architects and professionals and they saw what kinds of things we could do, that one of the most valuable things was, let's spend an afternoon brainstorming about what we can do. Because, architects and designers learn about other design materials, they learn about which types of wood or which types of concrete have design implications and give them possibilities to work. They don't go, they don't have someone talking to them saying, this is the coolest wood in the world and these are the specifications of that wood, right? That would make no sense, yet that seems to be mostly what we do. And so if we make it relevant, in my experience, and granted, this is not something that we have focused on for that long, but in my experience, you make progress in that conversation incredibly fast. And it's really from that perspective, it's understanding what the design professional is trying to achieve and try and think from that perspective and to see how you can be a resource that contributes to that whole design process. And then the whole integration and everything else and the budgets and all the rest of it will all sort itself out.
So, as a manufacturer, we feel that it's very important for us to get feedback, both from the designers and architects and from the integrators themselves. So for an example, we're a lighting control company. So we make switches and dimmers and keypads. But designers and architects start complaining to us that how come near the bed they have a very nice switch or keypad, but the socket doesn't look the same. It's like a Home Depot socket. So we had to go and create nothing really smart, but a glass frame for the outlets that would look the same as the keypad. And then they came to us later on and they told us, hey, but the thermostat for the AC, it looks different and it's also near the outlet and the keypad. And so we had to go and create AC thermostats and learn that. And then they came back and told us, look, what about the floor heating? So we had to go and create floor heating. And sometimes people, they become embarrassed to ask us or tell us, but for us, we believe that we're here to supply demands. And as more demands as we get from the market, if it's from the designers and the architects and their vision of the house, or from the integrators of technology that they need to make their installments and their programming easier and faster, and to give them the ability to give better service to their clients, and of course lower their costs per project, then we like to get all those feedbacks from the field and take it into our R&D and create better products from that. So the best relationship is what Sean was talking about, is listening. So that's what we try to do.
Great, well thank you guys. You guys have been a great audience.